Hello everyone and welcome to Inc. Radio. I don't even remember the episode that we're at, but it's a lot. Welcome to this cast. It'll probably be a lot shorter this time. I say that every time it's going to be shorter, and then it's being like an hour and 20 minutes long, so, you know, whatever, deal with it. So we're joined today by Blake, since Nine couldn't make it, because apparently he has more important things than be on the best podcast in the world. So, what's going on, Blake?
Oh, not too much. Just doing a lot of work behind the scenes for what we'll be talking about, I'm sure, at the end of this podcast.
Oh,
so
yeah.
More now.
Sorry, I actually forgot about it. I'm not gonna lie, Blake.
that moment of horror, realizing, what are we going to be talking about?
Oh, yeah, we have an announcement. Oh, I forgot all about it. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I think that's something you throw out in the Twitter post, like, stay tuned for a special announcement.
It completely forgets about it, yeah.
What's up, Walkman? How's it going?
I'm alright, I guess. Been a little bit of a rough week, but don't really want to talk about that right now, so.
Tell me all about your day. I want to hear everything.
Well, today was alright, but...
The weather got you down, a bit too hot for you.
Maybe.
It's just bummed you out, you know? I feel you, man.
But I'm doing alright now. I went to the gym and then I got so sleepy. I'm really sleepy right now. So I'll try to stay upbeat for this, but I'm knocking out after.
How about you, Kendall? How's it going?
Yeah, I'm actually doing good. Started working out today. Played some ball in a while. Just prefacing this basically is I had a herniated disc, or have a herniated disc actually, and I started working out again. So feeling good, trying to make a push, lost a couple pounds, and yeah, happy.
All right, well, that's pretty sweet. So, I guess we'll just start off by going right into some of the topics that we have today. I only have really 3 topics prepared. It was a pretty light week overall for Splatoon. Nothing really announced. Inkstorm's coming up. I mean, I guess we could talk about that if we really want to, but I feel like we kind of talked about it in the last 2 weeks. So, we're going to talk about...
New details?
No, that's why. So let's bring up a lot of people on Twitter for some reason have just decided to bring up commentary in Splatoon. Like a lot of people just started hating on commentary out of nowhere.
I mean, I suck. That's why it literally we just had a tournament with me commentating in it.
Well, the one thing I do find funny is that
obviously people are going to complain about commentating. Come on.
I love that the first thought that we all said, "Oh man, the commentary sucks." All of us were like, "It's me," like.
It's me.
It's obviously like when people are like the commentary is too casual. I was like, "Oh no, it's BNS," and then you guys are like, "No, it's us."
No, it's me. It's me. It's me. I take the blame for all of it. It's me. It has to be me.
Anyways, basically. Basically, it was about saying that commentary was too casual. It's that it's not as focused, it's not as streamlined, and I want to preface this that I did talk about this on Twitter a little bit, being like, well, if you guys are talking about BNS, like that is the whole point of BNS. So like, you can't I don't feel like it's fair to lump that into it, but at the same time.
I feel like it's the fact that they don't know what BNS is rooted from. That's kind of the problem. I think you don't realize this is a whole new game, whole bunch of people, like, they don't know about, like, the 13-person, like, commentating BNS.
Yeah, but this has been running since, like,
no,
January?
I'm saying
you can't run that excuse anymore.
No, I'm just saying, it's like, you're right, but, like, they don't, some people just might think, like, your numbers have definitely grown for BNS. So, like, some people might be thinking more, that's it. They might not know.
Okay, anyways, we'll make it a little bit more focused. We will talk about VNS though. This is gonna be I think this is gonna be a pretty long topic, so basically, everyone's saying that it's too casual and like people don't bring the hype and it's not analytical enough, and everyone apparently has this opinion about what is the perfect type of casting, and everyone's opinion is completely different from everyone else's. But I guess I kind of wanted to bring up, what do you guys think is lacking in commentary, or what do you think is the biggest issue that could be causing a lot of people to feel that way?
Well, if it's the biggest issue, That's the fact that there aren't enough tournaments being casted on a regular basis. The only ones that are kind of regular are BNS, and so
And that's the best commentary. I don't know what we need anymore. We're done.
I mean, and then you can't complain about the one tournament that does casting that way, and then there's nothing else to even compare it to. There's nothing. I mean, Squidboards is at best once a month.
It is once a month.
Yeah, exactly. And then Gen Game is maybe every 2 weeks.
I mean, that's still pretty good. Like,
yeah, but
that's like 5 tournaments.
No, that's relatively speaking,
5 in a month.
Low.
Yeah, that's 5 in a month, and 4 of them are coming from the same place.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where, in a best case scenario, like absolute best case, you would have a casted tournament stream at least every Saturday and Sunday, if not every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, if not every day. Like, not necessarily one organization or 2 organizations. It's a lot. Like, that is the best kind of situation, because you always want that kind of traction coming through and funneling that entertainment value for it. That's what a lot of other games, because what is it? Overwatch League, that's near nightly, isn't it? Or is that weekly?
Overwatch League? I don't know. It's like every day or every couple of days.
3 or 4 days a week.
Yeah, so that's the kind of level that we should be at to have that full-on esports feel, even if it's not necessarily full-on, best grade commentary, but that's a whole other topic.
So what you guys are saying is that because there's a lack of tournaments, it makes everything else feel casual because BNS is so consistent?
Lack of casted tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying BNS is to blame for this?
But, well, kind of.
We're like the causation? Like, you can't correlate the two, but it's like smoking and cancer.
Well, that's not a good analogy.
No, because you could prove that exists.
Nah, I mean, that was a pretty good analogy. I think BNS is cancer now. Yeah. Honestly, it really is that. It's if there was something else really to cast. I mean, we have Inkstorm Cup this week. That's going to be obviously fun. Hopefully, it's what people are looking for. We just need at least, I would say, 2 or 3 of something of that caliber a month being streamed.
I mean, I wouldn't even say it has to necessarily be that caliber. Just having content that's streamed. Like, even, because I remember back in Splatoon 1, we had a lot of like just normal weeknight tournaments where it's like super minimalistic in terms of production, and it was just like Zach commentating, and it was just Zach running. Zach was running like the camera work. He was running,
he was still doing that in Splatoon 2,
right? And just doing the commentary, and it was just like basically a one-man show, just kind of a one-off thing. Like, we don't have anything like that anymore. We don't have anyone able to because there's plenty of tournaments running around. There's just not being casted, which they could be. They're just not.
So you're saying that we should just have someone should start up their own casting thing.
You're right, and it could just be entrepreneuring commentator, someone who just wants to attach themselves to the hip to.
I think you completely cut out, or it was me.
I thought my headphones went out.
I thought my audio died, and I was like,
I thought my computer died. I was like, wait, what just happened?
Just that having an entrepreneuring commentator just attach themselves to the hip to a tournament series and just run their streams. Because, like I said, you don't need a whole lot. You can run with fairly minimal setup and just go with it and just have that kind of grinding session yourself.
What do you guys? What do you think? What do you think, Kendall?
About commentary, I feel like it's still too early to really be complaining about commentary. I feel like every tournament that's needed to be highlighted has had great casting lately, and I think people are complaining about weeklies that are every single week. And you need people to cast them every single week. People have lives. They have families. They have things to do. So I get it that people will complain about this, but every single tournament that's been highlighted at extreme levels, lands even to the point of we've just had what SNS. I'm sorry to say, you can't get 9. You can't get, even for like Spoon, all the rest of you can't get Walkie for every single tournament. It's almost impossible. So I think that it's really overblown. And at this point, if they really want great commentary, turn your stream on, do a tournament, and then there you go. Do it yourself. That's it.
So I do want to clarify a couple of things. I think one is that a lot of people are like, the commentary's bad, and then you go, what's bad about it? And then they say, well, I don't like it.
That's it. Yeah.
And it's like, okay, cool. Like, if you went up to 9 and you told him something wasn't right or didn't feel good, and you could explain it properly, 9 would probably appreciate it. And I think a lot of casters, if you tell them that they're doing something that like might be off a bit, they'll probably appreciate it. Like, if you have a tick, like I know a lot of people who are nervous go like or like mumble or stuff in the middle between their casting, and like those are things that is good to take as feedback if you aren't actively listening to yourself. So if it's things like that, that can be corrected and fixed, but I think you need to actually give a criticism, and it could be a bias too. Like I mentioned it before, like I personally have casters that I don't enjoy listening to, but it doesn't mean I think they're bad. It's just not my style, you know what I mean? Like I might prefer one style while someone else prefers another.
Who?
I'm
Start
not gonna
the
call
fire.
out anyone.
Start the fire now. Say it's me. Say it's me. Just say it's me. I know it's me. It's me.
Yeah,
It's me.
I haven't
You're talking
listened to
about
you
me
guys.
right now.
I haven't
I'm
even
joking.
listened to you
I'm joking.
cast because
I'm
I don't
joking.
even want to. I don't want to experience you casting. It's so bad.
You wouldn't want to. I promise you. You would not want to.
But point being is that there's people who really like certain casters and other people who don't, and it's a preference thing. And I think realizing if it's a preference versus is it bad is one thing to find out, right? Like I'm sure people absolutely hate some of my casting because of just how I talk. I hate the sound of my own voice, so I can imagine why people would hate. Like I can completely sympathize with you because I hate the sound of my own voice, so it's great. But that's what I'm trying to say. Is like there's just some things that you can't avoid, right? It doesn't mean you're bad. It just means it's a preference. So I think that's the first thing.
Question, but like I feel like the
way.
biggest complaint when everybody has about like, I guess you want to say, the commentating sometimes, majority of the time, is just like it's not analytical enough. Like that's always just the biggest complaint that I hear from like from anybody, is that it seems like, oh, the caster just doesn't know what they're talking about.
Well,
and then,
but that brings up my second point. In regards to it, was I think that casting could be better with more breaks. I think the biggest problem we have right now is that casters are on for like a really long time. And I don't mean it like BNS standards, because BNS is literally just people messing around for like 6 hours, so it's not the same. But like, if we're talking about like an actual cast, like if we're running Squid Boards or we're running another tournament series, like anything other than BNS, it is something that we try and think about. We try to get a different set of casters every set to try and keep breaks going, right? Because the longer you cast, the more your brain goes to mush as you're casting. Like the reason why BNS gets loopier into grand finals is because everyone's tired and has been talking on a mic for 5 hours. Like it becomes tiring and draining, and it's hard to think on the fly at that point. So you need to give time to people to take a break. And I think that's something that we all need to work on as like organizations and people in the future, is we have to start finding content to free the time for casters and like for us to do things. Like a thing that I thought of was like, hey Blake, I'm gonna pitch ideas to you right now on the cast. Like if we ever have something like that, we could have a panel of people who talk about it after the match and people who actively cast the match, and that way it splits it up and gives people a chance to regain their thoughts and think about the game. You have people focusing on the afterthought of the game, makes more analysis and lets people kind of think about it. Another thing is like the quiz games we do and the commercial breaks and stuff like that. Like if we could promote more of the rest of the Splatoon community with those types of things. The thing is, people trying to create commercials is hard. Like not a lot of people are willing to edit a video for promotional purposes.
So I hear your idea, and I'm just going to squash it into the ground right now. So it sounds great, absolutely fantastic. It works in situations like LANs,
about to say
things like online tournaments. Unless that is time that's already going to exist, you're delaying a tournament, which is the number one thing that you don't really want to do. You want to mitigate that as much as possible, which I like the idea of. I think what you're getting at is like having like two pairs of people, one pair being live commentators, and then as soon as the set ends, you like flip desks and bring in two fresh faces to kind of talk about their take on everything and kind of be like
and hold on, like we're not actually presenting it as a pitch idea, like I was joking, but you bring it up. But what I'm saying is that at minimum, a match between breaks is going to be like at minimum 10 minutes, right? To get everyone set up. 10 minutes is enough time to talk about a post-game set.
Sure.
And it's not that hard to switch over. Like, all I'm saying is just something simple just to, like, kind of free up the time a little bit and make it a little bit more enjoyable. Or you could pre-record interviews with players. This is a lot more preparation in advance, but...
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say for us in general. Like, I see you cringing there, but I meant more like just create things that can free up time for people to take breaks, because that really does increase the casting potential. And you see people after they've casted like 4 sets in a row, they're like definitely not the same as they were when they just came on. They're like all giddy and hyper, and then 4 games in, they're like, and he's at the Rainmaker, and he's moving, and you know, it becomes a lot more like lethargic. So...
And I think that has to do with a much bigger overall issue that we have, and that we basically don't have that many commentators. Like, we have lots of people who like commentating, we have a lot of people who are interested in commentating, but those who are actually dedicated to commentating, I can really only think of two people in our entire community who are actively, totally dedicated to three people actively totally dedicated to that craft and being able to watch scrims, do research, grind out, and actually keep bettering themselves as commentators. They're essentially the competitive Splatoon player, but sub out playing Splatoon for just talking about Splatoon, where they treat it as that same kind of level of constantly working to get better at it, whereas a vast majority are playing at a more casual level. So we have that kind of situation where we have a whole bunch of casual players and a few top players, and everyone wants the whole pool to be top players, and we don't have that. And it's not something that you can just do. We can help encourage it, but it's not something that just exists on its own, or something that any amount of complaining or griping about will actually make better, aside from just, like Walkie was saying earlier, have more tournaments, have more situations where people can practice and grind, start encouraging that kind of environment where people want to be better commentators, and give them that, open up those doors.
Yeah. Another thing I do want to point out, because we did talk about BNS, is I do want to bring up a little bit of, since it's kind of a discussion, a lot of people love BNS commentary. So for those of you who don't know, we run BNS every Thursday, and it's very much couch casting. It's not real casting. Like, let's get that out of the way. I think none of us are lying to ourselves when we look at this and go like, this is not professional whatsoever. Like, it's not meant to be. It's meant to be a bunch of people hanging out, just talking over games and kind of like enjoying themselves. Like, think of it as like you get home from work and it's a stress reliever. Because that's what it is for me and Blake, right? It's like we get home and we're tired, but we're going to run a stream for you guys. So we're going to do it the way we feel comfortable, and that's by talking with our friends.
Talk with some friends.
It's chill, right? That's what it's meant to be, and a lot of people like that, right? So that's what it is, and it's always been that. Now, I will say that some people are like, I wish it was a little bit better, a little bit more focused. And sometimes I do agree with you. Sometimes we do cross a line that's like way too casual. But we typically just try to be pretty joking with some, obviously, commentary in the game. Where it's casting Splatoon. We have to at least talk about it somewhat, right? So
hopefully. That's the end game.
Yeah, so it's great for what it is. It's a weekly tournament. It's not like for this is giant amount, right? But I'm going to point something out, because a lot of players really hate it. I'd say the players more than the people watching, because viewers love it. All the viewers are like, oh my god, there's not more memes? Please, continue, right? But the players hate it a lot. And the one thing I want to point out is, like, a lot of, so we've actively had a donation prize pool every week for BNS, and we've gotten over $200 every single week consistently for that prize pool since we started it. Essentially, right, Blake? Give or take $25 maybe on 1 week.
I think so, yeah. I think 1 week we had like 170.
Yeah. So your prize pool's being funded by the memes, boys. I'm just saying. We put out a new sound effect to come out for Thursday, and someone donated $100 for it.
Not $100, $77 was generated purely so that way that song could get added.
So I just want to say, like, yes, I understand, like, the idea that you want things super professional, but at the same time, the fact that it's such a casual commentary and anyone can kind of just join in and kind of have fun with us is a lot of the reason why that's successful and why we can consistently have amazing viewers who are willing to donate to us as well. So, like, you take the good with the bad in a way, you know what I mean? There's other tournaments for that professional thing. There's other tournaments that we will. Well, you said that, but we are going to have other tournaments, and they are going to be on the weekend, and they're going to be professional and not laid back. You know what I mean? Like, we are aware that this is only on Thursdays, and I think people have to be more aware of that as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, Walkman. You want to add anything? You got this the smug face on you.
I mean, since I only really talked about just there being more tournaments, I guess my take on it is similar to what you were saying. It's just, honestly, it's a lot of people's preference. Because we talked about it, even though Nine's not here, it was like that day we talked about it in our chat when this came up as a topic. It was like a bunch of DMs of like, this person's the best and this person's the best, and it was completely different commentary styles from a bunch of different people. So I know some people probably don't like my commentary. I know I don't like some other people's commentary. Just the way it is, you know. I will straight up tell Blake every time I hate the way BNS is casted, but people love it.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. When I'm not casting and I'm like moderating chat and like floating around doing other things, and I put the audio on, like I'm totally focused on the chat the whole time. Like, I love that casting. It's something I can put in the background when I'm doing other things, and it's like perfect.
Yeah, I just, it's not for me, you know. Which, I mean, that's fine. I'll still do it when Blake needs me to if I can.
I mean, you're wrong, but it's okay.
Alright. I don't know. Just for me, I wish there was more, you know, tournaments that at least I could cast from time to time. They did ask me to help with Inkstorm Cup. I don't think I'm going to be able to, but that should be fun for a lot of people. They gave me a list of who's commentating. It looked pretty good.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, usually the big tourneys get the casters that everyone likes, so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that's kind of the trade-off of what Kendall was saying a little bit earlier, where it's hard for like a weekly to get that kind of, you know, consistent flow of commentators, whereas if you know like 2 months from now that you're doing a big event, that's easy to mark down on the calendar, start knocking on people's DMs and saying, hey, are you free at this time to do commentary? And you can start setting that up well in advance, like the tournament itself, and it usually ends up being just higher production in of itself. So having those more big one-off kind of events more frequently that are streamed and commentated is good.
Kendall, do you have something to add?
For commentary? No, not really. I think I gave my piece really just on commentary, and that's really it.
Yeah.
Personally, I mean, Inkstorms this weekend, everybody's gonna be like, "Oh my goodness, the commentary was amazing," but it's something that's planned. Like, you guys know, just for instance, what's it called? When what's his name was doing Ink Force, just like you guys have a commentary thing, you ask who can commentate the day of or a couple days before. Blake, you'll ask like a couple days before. How many people answer you?
More and more recently, we've been getting a little bit more people.
Yeah, and it's because BNS has that more casual flair to it. But
yeah, that's really it. But like,
definitely for Vesper, it was a lot harder. It was like pulling teeth. I'm glad that he was able to use that channel for that to just try to pull anyone he could. But it hurt me a little bit to see it just go painfully quiet every time.
So I mean, this weekend everybody will have their taste of great commentary for a little bit, and then until
the next big thing.
The next big thing.
Yeah,
that's
until
really it
someone
right
talks
now.
about something else that they hate. So
I mean,
and then we can talk about it on here. I mean, in a way, I'm upset that people just hate on things all the time, but it fuels the show, man. Like, it's great.
You're right, but like, how much do you expect from the community being so small? Like, we're stretched out like crazy already. I mean, some players would probably have to realize that maybe I just want to be a commentator and that's it. Maybe you have to go the 9 route, and maybe some people need to realize that. But some people still want to be players at the same time. So if we have that big divide where we don't have people like Walkie, again, another person that gave up playing to be a commentator. Well, I mean, probably other things also, and like how you guys gave up being players to run an org.
Yeah, so I could be the best host ever.
You understand what I'm saying? So like, more people have to come to the realization of, or TOing, other people have done that also, but more people have to come to the realization as, we want better commentating in the scene, give up being a player. We are stretched way too thin for like what you want.
Finishing on.
No, seriously, like, in all honesty, how many good commentators? I'm not trying to like rip on anybody, but your top tier commentators, you could probably say like, how many would you give? And I'm not giving names. I'm just saying, like, how many could you give?
I'd be like 3.
And that's what I mean. So if there's only 3 people in the scene, and one of them is obviously 9, and that's why he was pulled for the Nintendo the Nintendo tournament. If there were more, Nintendo probably would have pulled more people. Obviously, Jordan Kent obviously is the head person for it, but they probably would look at the scene and they would be like, "Yo, there's more. There's just not enough. We're stretched way too thin." Even in like good TOs, you could be like, "Yo, we're stretched way too thin." So I feel like people's expectations are way too high for something that's like, we're like down here for like people's expectations. You can never fulfill anybody's expectations. I'm not saying that, but I just feel like we're stretched way too thin for like what people want.
Well, I'm going to bring it up to another level here, is that so I feel like we've had this a lot lately. I feel like more recently, I don't know if you feel the same, Blake, but I've been feeling more and more like a lot of people expect a lot of things from us, to the point where a lot of people won't do certain things.
What do you mean?
Like in Splatoon 1, right? Like when we decided to run BNS, we were just like, we're going to run BNS. Because no one else is doing it, and even if they were, we're going to run it our way because that's why we want to do it, right? And then we did it. And that's what we've consistently just been doing, right? Like, for the next announcement that's coming up, you and Nine were like, we want to do something. And I was like, okay. And it just happened, right? And I feel like that's a lot of the things that we do, is just kind of like an idea that we think is good, and then we decide to execute it, right? And I feel like a lot more people are like, oh, well, EGTV or InkTV or GSM or ESB is just going to run it, and it'll be fine. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like there's a lot more of this, like...
I think I get what you're getting at.
Or people are like, I'm going to run a tournament, and then I'm going to hope that one of these people cast it, as opposed to, like, just trying to make it on your own. And, like, I get why. Like, I'm not sitting here... like, why wouldn't you? Of course you're going to try it out, right? You get more exposure, you get more viewers, but at the same time, like, there's nothing wrong with trying to do things yourself and pave your own way too. Like, we'll support that just as much as if you came to us. Like, if you came to us and said, I want to learn how to run a tournament, or like, how do I stream X thing, right? Like, Blake will be glad to help you. I'd be glad to help you with it. We're not like, no, you're the enemy. like we don't care about that stuff. And I think that's more of a thing where I think people are just trying to take the easy way out on a lot of things sometimes, instead of just trying to do it.
I mean, take a look at like Fresh Start Cup, right? I'm gonna plug that in right there. Had no idea that they were doing it. Literally, I was saying no the whole entire time to even doing commentating. The only reason I did it was because Melissa asked me. DJ was doing the spectator cam, and I was like, you know what, I'll help out as much as you guys need. Fresh Start Cup, I was like, yo, let's just do this. I even told Nathan, I was like, yo, Nathan, why didn't you let me know earlier? Because I was like, whenever I'm streaming, I would have shouted out like, yo, Fresh Start Cup is this weekend. There's so many people that probably could have joined in more. Like, if you hit up anybody in the community, a lot of people will say, like, if you have a genuine idea for it, if Nathan had hit me up and said, like, yo, we already have these teams for Fresh Start Cup, I definitely would have said, like, yo, guys, I would hit up Spoon and been like, yo, Spoon, like, if any of you guys can like put out an article for Fresh Start Cup, I think it'd be a great idea. Just even trying, like, maybe, like, as I said, like, just putting things out there. A lot of people will do it, and you guys have opened your doors to many people to commentating. I don't know if you guys did for TOing. I'm not exactly sure, but
a little bit.
It's a little bit different.
Yeah.
I think me and Blake are pretty blunt when we say that we think TOing is probably one of the and by the way, no offense to Jordan. Jordan does an amazing job, so I'm not trying to like shit on him. That's not what I'm saying. But I think we take TOing as for granted. I think we kind of, that's like our afterthought on everything we do. Because it's so solidified, because we have Jordan there who just kind of enforces the rules and does his thing. And even when we were in BNS, I was one who ran the tournament, and it was always pretty efficient. Like, it kind of ran itself halfway through the tourney. So it was... It's the easiest part of the whole event. Like the production, getting the graphics, getting the marketing, getting all that other stuff is like the harder part than the tournament organizing. The tournament organizing is the easiest part of that whole thing.
As long as nothing goes catastrophically wrong.
Yeah, but that comes down to the person, right? Like, if you can handle that type of pressure, then it's super easy. If you can't, then yes, it's a disaster for you. It's a temperament. It's a temperament you have to have, and like quick thinking skills. So yeah, that's what we're doing. But yeah, just run your own events. If there, like Blake said, if there was something running every single day, it would bring so much exposure to the community that it wouldn't just benefit like us. It would benefit you guys too. It would benefit everyone. Like, having more eyes on Splatoon just benefits everyone. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah.
Like yes, of course we have friendly competition, right? Like, of course we want to say like, oh, we're doing better than EGTV in this or something, or we're doing better than ESB TV, but we're not sitting there going like, I wish they didn't exist. Like, it's... we want them to exist. Of course we do. It's like, it's a way to keep us wanting to improve, right? Like, I'm sure EGTV does the exact same thing because they want to keep pushing the bar to make it as best as it can be to show off to the world. And that's kind of the idea of it. Like, the more eyes you have, the better it is for all of us. I think that's just the best way to describe it. So
we're too small to
Yeah, and like Kendall was saying, if you want to like write an article for us promoting your event, as long as it makes sense and it's not like literally a pure ad being like, come do this, like, we'll probably say put it on our site, you know what I mean? Like, just don't make it a pure ad, make it like an interesting article. Like Walkman talked about the Philippines community, and we talked about like a thriving Splatoon community in the Philippines, and also talked about their LAN. You know, it was an interesting article. It was great, and a lot of Filipino people now watch us, which is pretty cool.
That is cool.
So it's just things like that. Yeah. Anyone want to add anything? Because then we're going to talk about the community dying because of top players.
Well, the last thing on that was before with what Kendall said about how basically Kendall sparked like the thought in my head is like that we are run a little bit too thin. It's like one of the major complaints people will say to commentators, like as we mentioned before, is like it's not analytical enough, or they don't know what they're talking about. And it's like, I mean, yeah, they just started. They weren't top players like you. You can't expect them to know everything that you do. I mean, they'll try their best for sure. You can try and tell them, hey, you were kind of wrong about this thing. This is actually how, you know, this comp works or something like that. But yeah, people just like, you can't complain about something like that. And then, you know, you're not doing it. You're the top player with that knowledge. Maybe you're not even winning every tournament. Maybe that'd be better for you to go on to that. So,
dag, yo. Also echoing off of what Kendall was saying a little bit earlier, we are a small community. We are very very tiny. Like, it seems like we're not at times, especially for people who are new to competitive scenes, that it seems like there's a lot of like big flashy names, people who are like untouchables. But they're not. We're way too small. We're like,
oh my god, so we get that all the time, Blake. We literally get that all the time. We get people who come to us all the time and say they're unapproachable. You've never said hi to me. I am like the most approachable person. You talk to me, I will actively talk to you in Discord. I literally, okay, to give you an example, there are people who have added me as a friend in the Splat Academy server, and I've just accepted all of them. I don't even talk to them yet. I just accept, and then they talk to me and I go, "What's up?" You know, like. I'm a pretty laid-back dude.
The one time someone sent me a random friend request and I accepted it, and then they called me nonstop for an hour, I have been a lot pickier about who I ask friends because that is too much of a risk. But yeah, it feels like there's a lot of people who are unapproachable, and I can 100% assure you that they're not. In almost every instance, regardless of how big or small you feel in the community, I assure you that all the people that you think are the big names feel like they're smaller than you. Hands down. Like, there's the amount of people who I've talked to who feel like they're nobodies in the scene, that everyone else thinks they're actually somebodies, is crazy. Like, everyone just has this false impression of themselves as well as others, and there's just this huge divide that's just silly.
Yeah, I had someone come up to me and Blake during E3 and was like, "Spoon and Blake, I know you guys are great." And I was like, "Oh my god, I'm not this level of popular yet." So yeah, like our chats, our DMs are open. We're willing to talk to anyone, and we get that a lot where people will talk to like Jordan and be like, "I can't talk to the two head guys because they're like too serious," and it's like, listen, like we're not at all. Like we made BNS for you. We literally made BNS. Like, think about that for a second. Think about the two minds who thought of that tournament and the laid back commentary. So
yeah, and more so to the point, earlier, I think I saw a few people in chat asking about streaming. If you want to know stuff, come talk to me. I will literally set you up. I've done it to hundreds of people already. I will happily do hundreds more. I have, in many cases, had very important things I should be doing, and I have quite often dropped all of them to just help someone set up their Twitch stream. It's something I really enjoy doing. It's something I actually like doing. So obviously, because I'll run a lot of the streams anyway. But I think you put that behind a paywall, Spoon.
I mean, like, I know you're gonna do it anyways, but
right.
It's more of like an open invitation where if you really want to, if you feel like we're that unapproachable and you feel like you need to have this access to talk to us, there is a $25 Patreon goal where you can literally ask us anything you want DM in the entire world.
Whatever you want.
Or save the $25.
Or save the $25, just send a DM.
No, don't ruin my shill game.
There's options on the table. There's the pay to play, and then there's the open source, and whichever one's your flavor, knock yourself out.
Well, at least if you pay, it's like maybe Blake is really, really busy with actual work. It's like now he can't say no.
Right, because of the implications.
Anyways, I guess we'll get off this topic since we talked about it a lot.
It became a long one.
Yeah. I told you it was going to be a long one. And we're going to go into top players killing the community. So there's been this, it keeps rising and falling. Like, I don't hear anything about it, and then it kind of surges up again and then dies down. And now we have people talking about how top players with I think it's because Coliseum sparked this catalyst where Coliseum is coming back and they're saying that you need to be in the top 500 of X rank to be allowed in or have significant tournament results. And I do want to clarify, Sendo said it should be based more on the top 500 and that he wanted to base tournament results on like rare exceptions where it wouldn't fit, right? So, because a lot of people are trying to get in based on tournament results, but people are talking like now it's all this top player privilege and like all these top players are segregating the community and killing it now because they just want a higher level of competition. And I guess I want to get your thoughts now at this stage in the game, because we've talked about it earlier on the podcast months ago, and I kind of want to bring it back up because now we're in a different position than we were all that time ago. So I kind of want to know your thoughts now. Are top players killing the community?
No, I mean I think all of us, the answer is no. But
not even a little bit.
At least, just to address, I guess, Squid Coliseum, is there literally was an option for everybody to play it, pretty much like no matter what, and nobody used it. Nobody.
It didn't have the prestige.
And I mean, I understand, you know, the top players did stop playing it because it wasn't, you know, they were just filtered in with like everybody else. So like, you know, they don't want to play. But then it's like, there's still everybody else. Why aren't they playing?
Yeah. I do want to point out, based on Sendo and how he like presented it, at least from how I saw it, was like X rank is still not focused enough to have a high level of competition. And everyone talks about it too. Like, you see everyone on Twitter, people saying like, look at these players, they're not that great, it's still not good enough. So Sendo's like, okay, I'm shortening the player pool of X rank to make it top 500, and he's essentially making his own solo queue. And people are like, top player privilege. You can't win, man. Like, what do you want to do? People are complaining about it, and he's like, I have a solution, and everyone's like, now you're killing the community. It's like,
in all honesty, it should be
what do you want?
No, you know what? Like, it's funny. It's funny because the thing is, it's given opportunity and it's actually set a goal for those that want to prove themselves.
That's what I was saying. It literally is like adding an extra rank to Splatoon. It's like the same concept could apply as if you were like X rank. Splatoon is catering to top players. The actual game is catering to top players. The game is dying now. It's like, that's such a stupid logic. It's so, oh my god, I'm not gonna get into it.
It's not even that. Like, I mean, I feel like if there, now that there's a goal for those that are like, all right, like you want to be known as a good player, like there's your opportunity for those that have made it in the top 500. There's plenty of people that are like top like 100 that some people don't even know about. Like, seriously, there is like, there's some players that are like, and then the thing is, like, there's some people that consider themselves not even considered, but are top players that don't play solo queue and they get good tournament results. Sorry, but like, this is the one opportunity that you have. You make it into top 500 for whatever section you need to. You have the opportunity of actually going into that thing that you hate so much for some reason and showing those players that you're good. You can prove to them that you can make it into there. It's not separating anything. And in any form of like competition, competitiveness, like no matter what it is, there are divisions. And sadly, the fact is, yes, there is a skill gap. I mean, like, it's what happens in any sport, any game, anything that's, as I said, has a competitive nature to it.
Another thing I do want to add is that sorry, just one last thing is that it's black and white. Like, there's no like gray area. It's like, get top 500, and that's it. Go. Like, it's not a private invite. It's like, you just get it and you're in. Like, there's nothing else to it.
Also, if you want to cheat the system, get a really good rating and then just never play again. Get 2 really good ratings, never play again. That's all you have to do. There's no decay. So, like, get into top 300, never play again. Just don't. And then last through the rest of the month, and you're good. You make it into Squid Coliseum. There you go. Solution solved. Done. Now I've literally broken it, but all right, it's okay.
In before Sendo changes all the rules.
One more thing I do want to bring up about it too is this idea that, like, so I'm gonna kind of bring up Irik's topic too, because Irik a while ago talked about how, like, prize pool isn't the thing that's gonna grow the community, and I'm like, it is a part of it. Like, yes, it's not the only thing, but it is something. Like, you need incentive for top players to grow, and I would say right now we're at like the lowest point where there hasn't been much incentive for top teams to play in tournaments. Up until now we've had prize pools, now we have the Inkstorm Cup coming up, but there was this period where everyone's catering to all these newer teams, and no one's catering to the actual high-level competition. And it's like, well, what's going on, you know? Like, they don't get anything out of it. So if anything, they've been kind of like in a drought for a little bit and are now starting to get that pickup. And a second thing I want to bring up with that is, like, top players, like, the whole game is based off competition, and you want to have a goal, and the whole thing is based off of skill. So, like, you need that goal to be attainable, and you want those players to be good, you know what I mean? And it's like, if there's gonna be a divide, there's gonna be a divide, but just get good at it, you know what I mean? It's just simple as that. Just get good.
I mean, can we just be honest about something also? This is a team game. Like, get your team, and if you're really upset about it, try to knock them out. That's really it. Like, I mean, I understand that you want to be looked at as an individual god, but it's a team game. Get your team good, win the next tournament. There you go.
Yeah. My take on it is more, and I'll preface by saying I think Sendo's going about this the completely right way. Having things like Squid Coliseum, having things like the secret scrim server, and all those various other flavors of things that cater to the top level are super healthy for the game. Regardless of how people feel about them and how they're that exclusivity of them, for that pool of players, you couldn't ask for better things. What needs to happen, and like what I said was Sendo doing it right, is having that open gate to get in. It shouldn't ever be a kind of invite-only secret cabal that you know the whole collective must approve you with welcome arms into it. It's that black and white kind of situations. You meet this criteria, you're in. You play with the big dogs. But on top of that, catering to the top level of play, we need the sendos of the tier right below that to step up and do the exact same thing. To spend a little bit of time, spend some effort, create those exact same scenarios for that level of play. Because what it looks like for those players, for those secret scrim servers, for the Squid Coliseum, and that almost you can taste it goal, that exists for the players below that group. And the same could be said for the players below that group. But the players who are on that bottom rung, they have no idea about that top level. Like, that goal is far beyond their reach at that time. And it's not a realistic option, or that kind of goal that Spoon was saying, where you can't just, I'm going to win the biggest tournament in the Western scene. I'm going to win the Inkling World Cup. With me and my 3 C+ friends, met together in middle school. We are going to take this out together through the power of friendship. It's not going to happen. That's realistically not how any competitive or sports, esports, what have you, it's not how it works. You have to have those baby goals in between to step up into. And it's not something that a single person or a single organization can just do. It has to be something that everyone across the spectrum of the player skill base needs to step up and be doing.
I just want to also put out that you don't see, like, the Montreal Impact playing against the Premier League, like Real Madrid and soccer. You don't see, like, the, I don't know, the CFL playing with the NFL.
You guys are garbage.
Yeah, CFL's terrible.
You guys are garbage. It's so bad.
Anyways, what I'm trying to say is that there is a skill divide, and there's a reason why some are casted and some aren't. There is the top, and they are the they should technically be the focus, because they should be rewarded for their skill. And right now there's kind of a divide where, for a small period, we were so focused on the lower end, and now we're focusing back on the top end, and now everyone's like, hey, you're focusing too much on the higher end. It's like, dude, like, we have so many tournaments now that are focused on younger teams. We have so many ways to get in for younger teams now, like, in terms of an organizational standpoint. I'm not saying to not keep encouraging people to play the game, but I'm saying, like, you have to give incentive to the people who are actively dedicated to the game, who are already your core, to want to continue. Like, it's just what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, go ahead.
At least for, like you just said, so many tournaments catering to the newer teams. I mean, like we just mentioned before, Fresh Start Cup. I walked into Academy, like clicked on tournament discussion channel, and the first message was literally, hey, there's this tournament for newer level teams, or whatever like that. It's like you see that everywhere, and it's like there still is obviously, you know, those things for them. There's just also things for top players, you know, like what's the difference really, honestly? If there's tournaments exclusive for lower level teams, why aren't there events exclusive for the top as well? So you just have to, you know, think about it like that. And then also, as far as like these squid colos and these secret scrim servers, it's like for the longest time, I guarantee that if these top players didn't have these things, they probably would have quit the game a long time ago, because for a long time tournaments weren't offering any type of money. There was no incentive. It was, you know, play in this tournament for, you know, nothing. Play against teams that you know you're probably going to beat until maybe the semifinals, where then it's finally a challenge for you. And so if they didn't have these things to, you know, at least have goals for themselves, you know, hey, let's compete against this team that we're always, you know, losing against or something like that, just to prove that, you know, to ourselves that we're better, then there really was no goal for them. So definitely these things have been healthy for the community, as Blake said.
Yeah, can I just like add one more thing? I mean, I feel like since there's like power levels now for X rank, I mean, if you have top 500, like I know Sendu took out the time to think of like what was the best like category for what you could have for people joining his Squid Coliseum. But I'm pretty sure if somebody was to reach out to him or ask him like, hey, what would be a good example for like a mid-tier server that we could have? What would be like a good average for the numbers? Like, what do you think? Like, would 2300 be a good number to have? Like, you have to have a certain level of like 2300, and then starting from there and then going down and then possibly making your own JV per se, or JV Coliseum, and then taking it from there and then trying to see if you can build those players into your top or higher levels, or like taking it from tiers of whatever 200,000. Somebody from S Plus is going to complain anyway, but I'm just saying, like, you get what I'm saying? Like, I feel like the opportunity is there, and if you wanted to, you can definitely talk to Sendo about it, because he's one of the most like open people about like just trying to, even just asking him about questions or talking to him about the game. Pretty sure if you asked him about it, he probably like, maybe he'd be willing to help. I don't know, but there's probably multiple people that can help you with that. And if you wanted something like that, and you wanted to like say take it as a way of like your way of organizing something for those, I guess you want to say mid-tier level players, it'd be great, because nobody's ever done it. So hey.
All right, so I'm gonna get into some viewer questions. We only have a couple here. Wait, Walkman, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I was that about just how there's the segregating or whatever like that. Is like these middle level teams honestly aren't taking advantage, I think, of the things that are in front of them. Because like honestly, with like Sendo's ladder, there aren't that many teams signed up in it, to be honest. There's so much potential just for that. Is like the way the ladder works is, you know, you grind your way up, you challenge somebody a certain amount of spots ahead of you, and then it's like they can't refuse your challenge. They literally have to verse you. So say there's that team, you know, that you think you're better than, there is the opportunity right in front of you. Just sign up for the ladder, and you will get your opportunity to fight them. Prove to the top player that you're just as good as them, but people just don't sign up for these things.
All right, we'll get to a viewer question. This is from Raise14, or at RaiseSplat. He says, what are some good resources for competitive players to use to get into content creation? And what types of contents do you like to see teams/players make? So what I personally like to see, but this is not good.
Oh God.
I love seeing people like, I like comedy. I don't know. It's just my thing. I love to see a player who like shows off his personality and like analyzes a game based on what he thinks is worthwhile, but in his own voice, right? Like there's, for example, if Nine did commentary, I think he'd do it in a super professional way, and he'd do it in his own thing, and it'd be really good. But if I was to do commentary, I'd like be like, do you see this guy? He's so bad. And like, I'd love to see someone do that stuff, like have like a weekly show where they don't like rag on teams, but they just like are in their own personality. Like, a lot of people are joyous. Like, if Taylor was to do something like that, I think it'd be really funny. Just that kind of stuff. Like, a very charismatic player talking about VOD reviews, still being informative, but kind of being funny and laid back at the same time. That's like my personal thing that I'd be like into. I really like Dave Andrus, his videos where he just rants, like the report of the week where he's in his car just talking about things in Splatoon. That stuff gets me going. I love that stuff. Go check it out. It's really good. It's why we feature it on Ink TV. We all love it. And then I'd say, like, I think just if you want content for newer players, guides, writing guides, video guides about brushes, weapons, basic things, like things that you take for granted, like where to position yourself on one map. Do a whole series about just placement on maps for a weapon. Like, that'll be really useful. Yeah, just things like that for me. That's what I like. And how would you get into it? I don't know. YouTube tutorials on how to stream, YouTube tutorials on how to make thumbnails. Like, to give an example, Ink TV, I make all the thumbnails on the site, and I'll tell you, I suck at Photoshop. But I did it out of necessity. And you know what? Now it's become a thing where I just keep making them, and they're getting better, I think. I mean, I still think they suck, but it's like, they're doable. No one else is doing them, you know? It's
They're
like,
still not the right size.
yeah, whatever.
I yell at Spoon constantly. It's a very simple. There's a template. You just have to follow it. Spoon
The
says,
rules are meant to be
"No."
broken. Anyways, point being is that, like, you just start learning things because out of necessity. There's a lot of things I learned because we just had to learn it because no one else could do it, or like you can't get someone reliable enough to do it. So things like editing videos was something that I started to learn. Making thumbnails, learning how to use Photoshop properly. Streaming was something that we were just interested in general, but then became more of a bigger thing that we had to learn as we started to do like tournaments. So I'd say like just learning yourself or asking people who already know how to do it. There's a ton of people in Splatoon who know how to stream. There's already one outlet, and if you can just make things, even starting without editing, like Dave Andrus does it where he just hits record and talks for 10 minutes. Which is a skill in its own, right? To have no editing and
Yes,
to have
it
your
is.
concise thoughts is like mad impressive, okay? Not from a technical standpoint, it's just impressive to talk for 9 minutes and have coherent thoughts. I'd be rambling. I am rambling right now. So
I think you do a great job, man. I'm not gonna lie. Seriously, I think you do a great job.
well, thank you. But that is one of those things is he can do it for 9 minutes nonstop and you just press play on a video. You can do that with streaming. A lot of the content I make for video stuff is me hitting the local record button on XSplit because I'm too lazy to do it any other way. Like, find something you do and you can find a way to work around it for yourself. You know what I mean? The whole point is just to start getting yourself into it. Even if it sucks first, it's gonna suck. It's really gonna suck. Your first video is gonna be so bad, you're gonna hate it, and you're gonna like want to throw it in the garbage, but that's the whole point, is that you learn from it to learn how to not suck as bad the next time. And you're still gonna hate it. Even when it starts to become good, you're still gonna think it sucks. I think everything I do is like not the best, but then people are like, that's so nice. I've had people come to me and like, those Ink TV videos are really nicely edited. I'm like, thank you. It's garbage, but like I appreciate that you think they are good. Like,
I say that every day of my life.
it's just what it is. So like I think just starting to learn yourself and ask people. Like, we ask people sometimes. I was like, how do you do this in Photoshop? I have no idea what to do. And people are like, this is what you do. I'm like, okay. Ask Blake about streaming. Ask me about streaming. Ask audio information. Like,
Anyone who's on Twitch who's streaming right now.
yeah, they'll all help you. Nine asked us questions to get started. He asked other people how to get started. Kendall asked me how to get started.
I did.
Well, like for audio gear.
Yes, you're right. You did. I did.
And I
did.
told you how to set your
I did.
setups and stuff.
Yes,
Like,
this whole mic was because of Spoon. Mic, amp, whatever the thing is called on the bottom there. That thing that's used to plug into my PC. Yes, there we go.
The magic
mixer.
box, yes.
The magic box. Yes, that's what it is.
it's like just asking and getting yourself out there. I don't know if anyone has anything else to add for how to get into content creation as a player, I guess.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Make your dreams come true.
Just do it. There you go.
Yeah. To fully echo what Spoon was saying, Google's
man.
your friend. Just Google it. If you're interested in starting something, pick something, just start doing it. Sucking at something is the first step of being kind of good at something. It's just the way it goes. Everything that's been done for Ink TV as far as streaming goes started 3 years ago, and I've actually been tossing around the idea of doing a quick montage of the tournament streams and the professionalism that has gone through. Because if you look at because it's on our YouTube for Ink TV. If you look at last year's World Inkling Cup,
bad.
it hurts. It pains me to see that, and we thought it was
the
coolest, greatest. It was fantastic. Oh, it hurts.
But the best
It hurts
part
me
is,
so
Blake,
bad.
it's not just us. That was the catalyst for the higher production. Like,
Yeah,
the
and like I said,
Nintendo event was the catalyst for people like, oh my god, we need to step up our production game, right?
No, that was us stepping up, which is the scarier part of it.
Wow.
It's like we all think it looks good. Like we have nostalgia goggles. Like when I look back, I was like, this looks great. But you're right. I looked back on it, I was like, wow, this is terrible. Like it really is bad. But we loved it. Everyone loved it.
And it's what it comes down to is you have to start somewhere, and it's the kind of situation like I was saying earlier. It's like having a minimalistic stream where it's literally just team A, team B, score A, score B, and then it's just full screen spectator cam, and that's all you got. Nothing changes throughout the entire thing. Cool, perfect. That's an excellent place to start. I could even show you what programs to use to make that happen. Super easy to set up, great time all around. But when you have the time, Google and keep looking up stuff. Like I was looking up stuff today on how to improve other things for BNS stuff. Like it's something I'm constantly looking into, finding new things, new tools to just keep tweaking and shoving things in.
Me and Blake worked on my audio for like 2 hours last night, and I was like, Blake, you're wrong, but he was right.
I wasn't. I was 100% right.
Yeah. It was stupid, but I mean, we learned. I learned. Point being is that like you can keep learning, you can keep improving. I think that's the big thing.
Just to address, like, I guess something from chat is like from people saying about promoting wise. I know when you start out on something, you are going to be getting those 3 viewers, those 5 viewers, but you really you already put the video out there. From there, it's just, asking your friend, hey, can you retweet this for me? Even if you have only 20 followers, 20 retweets is pretty decent. That's going to probably at least get maybe like 100 interactions.
Yeah, that's more than this podcast get for retweets.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you literally would be like, hey, man, can you just retweet this for me? I really put a lot of work into this. I'm sure your friend will just retweet it, And then also, like, I know we suck at this, but post your things to Reddit, to Squidboards. Even if people say they hate it, it's still a view.
Doesn't matter.
It literally is a view. There's nothing they can do about it. They already clicked. It's a view.
Doesn't matter.
I've told others as far as promotion goes is keep going until you feel like you're being annoying, and at that point you're about 5 posts away.
Yep. I mean, like, truthfully, I feel like a lot of people just don't realize once you press upload or once you press start stream or even like promoting after you're done, like it doesn't stop there. Like once you're done streaming, once you're done with your videos up on YouTube, that's when the real work begins. Until you have gained any type of traction, that's when the real work begins. Like you should just be going down. Anybody that was foolish enough to even like message you on Discord, just throw your YouTube video in there. The worst they can do is just like the worst they can do is just press X and tell you to like freak off. Like seriously, put it in your friend's Discord server.
And
put it
another
in,
thing
like,
I do want to add is that
don't go into streams doing it.
Like, for example,
Yeah.
like, a lot of people are always vying to get our attention so that we can post it or retweet it. And it's like, I'm not going to be around the bush. We're not going to retweet every single thing someone sends to us. It does have to be something that we personally enjoy or we think is a benefit, right? Or if it's not up to a certain caliber, we may not do it just yet. But that being said, though, is that if you show us or, like, we notice it, we will post it. Like, Dave didn't post it to us, but we caught it, and Walkman was like, this is amazing. It's really interesting. And I watched all of the videos after, and I went, yeah, that's amazing. It's really good. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, he doesn't have, like, 1,000 views. He doesn't have this super big following, but we really liked it. We thought it was good content, and we put it up. So it's... You know what I mean? Just keep getting better. It may suck now. You may not like it now, but we may like it in a month from now when you hone it or you understand what it is. And I think that's the important part, is just understanding that it'll keep getting better the more you do it.
And even with the friends, again, it's you can just be like, hey, I know it wasn't the best montage or something like that. What do you think I could do better? What would make this enjoyable for you to watch?
Yeah, I mean,
something like that.
Me and Blake were our harshest critics back in the day. We still are pretty much our harshest critics back in the day. Like I'll ping Blake in the middle of a tournament and go, "You're not changing colors. What are you doing?" But I know you're doing stuff, but it's still like, you know what I mean? Like, we're pretty but we're pretty anal about ourselves. Like, we do like to talk about what we might be doing right or wrong all the time. And we're not afraid to kind of give feedback like that to each other, so yeah, that's an important thing. Be willing to give feedback to yourself and have others give feedback to you without being angry about it. Okay.
And again, accept that, you know, when you start out, it's going to be low. Like BNS, with our first couple BNSs, like we struggled to get like 20 viewers, like, which is night and day from what we have now. And that's only just because gotta keep grinding at it, gotta keep working at it. I remember quite distinctly whenever we first hit like 100 viewers, and that was like mind-blowingly awesome. Was whenever we first reached that, and it was like after, I think it was like a dude host or something like that. Like, it wasn't us organically doing it; it was definitely someone hosting us. And still, though, like, start small, keep grinding, never give up.
Another thing, this is from Octobite. And he asks, opinions on banning, blacklisting, map mode combos. We'll make this pretty brief. Just let me know what you feel about it. We're not going to go super in-depth about it because we kind of brought it up a little bit, kind of a while ago, but...
All the time.
Yeah.
In the beginning.
I'll talk about it right now. At this current moment, we shouldn't ban, still putting things on a rotation. Nothing set in stone just yet. At minimum, we need to wait until the game is finished. The content updates are finished before we talk about flat out banning maps.
I 100% agree with you. Like, I think the rotation systems are fine. People are liking them. I know all the teams, or at least the top teams that I'm close with, they're all scrimming the Inkstorm maps because, you know, they know it's a scrim now. So it's all good.
Yeah, I feel like the banning, like, crowd has kind of gone away. We're not banning anything.
Yeah, I don't think we should ban anything. I don't see any reason to, at least not for the maps that we have so far. Unless there becomes a completely objective reason why a map is bad. Like, the only thing that's ever come close has been Salt Spray, and because you can clearly point, every other map is symmetrical except for Salt Spray. And because of that, it has certain qualities to it that makes it a less ideal map. And even then, we didn't ban that. So if that one passes by, I don't think anything that we have today should, unless we get some absolutely crazy map here in the future that falls under that same kind of umbrella. No. Rotations are good. Limiting maps is good. Banning, no.
The only thing I think that we'll see if the game does stop, instead of basing it off of is it broken and not playable, we may start focusing on is what is its best mode on that map. I'm not saying us personally, I'm saying just But this is
I
a
feel
talk
like-
for when updates are finally done. I don't think we should make any changes while there's still updates running. I think that's just a hard no.
I think in doing that kind of situation, we are going to cement in whatever meta is favorable at that time. Because we're going to have situations where even if there's no more patch notes, no more changes, what we have at that current level stays. The moment you start picking out what is the best map and mode combination, will invariably have a particular style that gets played against it. And that's going to quickly stale things up because you're not going to have those opportunities where because ultimately, you know, zones on Moray is an entirely different animal than zone on Port, and the kind of weapons, decisions, and playstyles you make for those maps are completely different. But if you ban Moray zones and only keep Port zones, that's going to favor those kinds of comps, and the kinds of comps that would exist in Moray just may not show up again, because we're going to tend to favor those kinds of comps kind of deal, where it'll be an endless feedback loop, because as players get better at those particular playstyles, the maps and modes that favor that will become more prevalent.
Do you guys want to add anything?
No, not really. I think we all pretty much said what we got to.
All right. So Diamond Knight does mention. I just want to give a shout out because he answered basically the entire thing we've talked about on the cast. So I just want to shout him out, saying thank you for the question. It didn't spark our discussion. You just happen to be on the same wavelength as us. His questions were. What other ways satisfies the needs of high and low level players, and more specifically, how do you get new people into the scene? We've kind of covered this a little bit, so I feel like we'd be reiterating what we've been talking about, but I do appreciate the question because they were well thought out, so well thought out that they were the topics of our show, so good job. Wacko Jacko asked, have you been following the Australia-New Zealand Series League? It's been one of the best things for our competitive scene, up to 5 divisions, and it's been rather successful. Have you guys been following it?
Not nearly as closely as I should. I have all the notifications getting sent to my phone. I've been hearing it. I know it's something super exciting, but it's not something I've had the time to dedicate to actually watching.
Yeah, same.
I've
heard about it.
I have not heard about it until this tweet. I don't know. I definitely follow a couple of Australian players, so I don't know why I'm not seeing it on my feed, but
if you have or follow Oceanic, everything's getting streamed there. So they're running it kind of like a pseudo Ludi kind of deal, but everything's getting streamed.
Yeah, I think it's really okay. Regardless of us not seeing it, I think it's amazing, and I think it's great, and I think the fact that it's actually gaining a lot of traction within Australia is fantastic. People are always saying like how we need to have everything unity and unified and stuff like that, but this puts a nice spotlight on Australia and the scene and what they've got going for it in a way that you can't do just by making it international. You get some highlights and some spotlights on Australian teams that you wouldn't get normally in an international light. So I think it is overall really good, and it is something I want to look into more. I think we can all say we've been pretty busy this past month in particular. So Kendall, have you watched it?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
no.
And I guess one final question. This is from Jordan. Our boy Jordan. Since they promised updates to the game through the year end of E3, what are some things you'd like to see change? It could be stages, weapons, modes, anything.
This is gonna, I guess, maybe sound weird, but I don't play Salmon Run at all, but I hope that they change something about it. I kind of feel weird that it hasn't gotten an update in the longest time. I think the last update was the 3rd map, and that came out really early in the Splatoon 2's life cycle. So yeah, I think they should add some new enemies or something to that. That's something I would want to see. Even if I still don't play it, I know there are people that do. So I hope for their sake, they get some new enemies or new stages, but primarily definitely new enemies, because they haven't made one update to that as far as I know. And I mean, for anything about, I guess, competitive scene, not much. I think the game is heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
Meta wise, I don't understand this thing on Twitter. I see every time people are quitting the game because the meta is stale. You said that literally 6 metas. Come on, stop it now.
I find you can play a lot of weapons actually.
Yeah, you can play a bunch of weapons. If you watched, what was it the other day? It was like the draft cup for in Japan. Yeah, there was a bunch of different weapons being played in that. I saw dually sculptures, I saw foil squeezer, I saw Brella, I saw this, that, the third, and those were literally the top players in Japan were only allowed to play in that tournament. So obviously there are some viability to those things. And then also just for me at least, people are complaining, I've seen this as well, as like, Inkjet is just too strong right now. It's like, I'm okay with the best thing in the game being something where you actually have to use your stick. I'm okay with that.
Yep. And it can't hide behind spawn or across the map. Perfectly fine with that.
That's all I gotta say.
For me personally, I finished the Octo expansion, which was absolutely amazing. The only thing I wish is that like they would take that and put some of those things into like a test room, and like you can kind of like pick like if you want to like go against them. Somebody could say like, you could just go into the story, but I would rather them like take some of those things and just put them in the test room, and just adding like going against octolings and doing stuff like that so you can work on your aim and stuff like that. So that's it for me. That's a high wish, but I really wish that could become a thing.
I'd even be happy for that exact same thing, but just being able to go into, like, after you've completely finished the Octo expansion, being able to replay the various missions and bosses with whatever weapon you want for that same kind of reason, where if you play that final fight and you could pick various other weapons in order to do so, and they had the exact same weapon that you had to fight against, or you could pick whatever weapon that they could use against you, that'd be pretty sweet.
That'd be cool.
I would certainly get a lot better at dealing with range blaster if Inner Agent 3 had a range blaster during that entire fight.
Spoiler alert.
Bro, that thing was a cheat, by the way. That thing is literally just cheating, but okay, keep going.
It is. But I think that's okay, because if you have those kinds of situations where your training dummy is literally cheating,
I'd be happy. I'd be happy.
That'd be great.
It just like even like back in the day, just reminds me of when I used to play like Melee, and I used to turn all the computers to level 9 and just like go at them. But I wish we had something like that. Seriously.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that'd be a fantastic update. For me, in terms of any changes or updates, I would like to see a whole slew of, if not Sheldon's picks, the equivalent, just a whole bunch of new, not originally intended weapon kits to just get dropped out with fun new reskins, just because they kind of shake things up a little bit after the intended state of the game has been reached, because that's coming up at the end of this month, right? Like that's the first true end of our updates was the end of this month, right?
Yeah, and then they pushed it back to December.
Right. So something between, August to December, we get a couple new fun weapons that just kind of like, because I remember in Splatoon 1, like the Heavy Splatling remix shook up a lot of things. There was also the Wasabi shook things up a lot. What was another Splatoon 1?
Cherry H3.
Cherry changed everything.
Yeah. And the cherry,
God,
like those
cherry.
That kind of like last little bit update, I think is an absolutely great thing. And the only last thing that I would change is, I think Splashdown is possibly the best example of what a special should be. It's strong, but easily defeatable, and I would like to see more of the specials get to that point. Not necessarily to the point of being nerfed to being useless, but more of, if you have the skill, they're easy to deal with. And that means that when you're fighting at a higher level skill, you have to be a lot smarter with using the specials. And I think like for Inkjet, for instance, take away one of its shots. That's all in all rather minor nerf, but the end lag between your shots is greater. So you have to be a lot smarter with your shots in those cases. Things like that would be the only changes, I think, because otherwise I think our meta, where the game is sitting at right now, is fantastic.
Yeah.
I only have 2 things I want. Mahi Mahi and new Octoling hairstyles. That's all I want to see from the game.
I feel like that has to come, like, because we started with 2 hairstyles, right, originally for Inklings, and we got to 4 per, so 8 total for both boy and girl hairstyles.
Yep. All right, so that wraps up our show, guys. That's the end of Ink Radio of this episode. We were joined by Blake.
There was a special announcement or something.
Yes, it's coming. God.
Okay. So I want to make sure you don't forget.
Oh
I was thinking the same
Do
thing.
you not have faith in me?
I don't, because you've done it before.
Oh my god. Okay, so Kendall, promote your stuff. We're saving the best for last here.
All right, cool. Make sure to sign up for Long Island Summer Splat. If anybody's in chat, like Future, if you could please just post a link for the Smash GG if you guys don't mind. Also, yeah, make sure to go. It's going to be a great event. I can't think of anything else. I don't think we're promoting anything else. No, there isn't.
Follow me on Twitter. My name is that_.
Don't follow me on Twitter.
Also, watch me stream on Twitch. I stream 5 days a week, and I get about 80 to 100 viewers, and I stay in the Zen zone, but sometimes I rage, but I'm pretty entertaining overall, so give me a follow. It's Negus_.
People just watch for the music and then just see me like get faulty over the music. That's really it. Yeah.
I'm trying to promote for you, okay?
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah.
Walkman.
Watch BNS this Thursday. Watch. I'm done promoting myself. I'm always gonna promote other people now. Watch Inkstorm Cup on Endgame TV 1, maybe 2. I'm not sure. As well. This Saturday and Sunday. Gonna be really cool. And I guess for now, that is all I gotta say. Check out inktv.media, because even though I'm always, for some reason, not able to post articles, other people are. So I'm gonna check that out.
Okay, so I'm gonna shout out Blake. You can be the one to announce this since it's your baby. So yeah, like he reiterated, watch BNS. We're already at a $150 prize pool, Blake.
More than that, yeah, basically. We're starting at $100 from donations last week. We haven't added in the Ink TV contributions yet, but it'll be at least $50 again, most likely more, and then whatever else we raise.
Perfect. So there we go. $150 to BNS this week. So guys, go sign up for TC. It'll be great. InkTV.media, great articles. Dave Andrus is on there now. We also have Ink Radio on Spotify now as well. So you guys can finally go on Spotify and download this podcast or watch it. We also have it on Google Play, iTunes. I had it on SoundCloud, but I'm not paying for SoundCloud Premium. So too bad, guys. You're not getting on SoundCloud.
Make that another Patreon level.
Yeah, and a direct download. We have a direct download as well. So if you want to watch it, I've given you every single resource available to go watch this show.
-1.
Okay, anyways. So there you go, guys. This will be up probably on Thursday as well. Also, Beyond the Ink's going to come back in about 2 weeks. We're going to be interviewing a player. We'll announce that shortly and have an article going out about it. Also, Cross Ink Analysis is going to be starting very soon. Also,
Examination.
Cross Examination. I forgot the old title of my name. And we are going to be analyzing matches and kind of doing like quick guides for people live streamed. So that'll be really cool, and that's starting very shortly. I'll announce who's going to be the first guest as well and what we'll be talking about. And then the big thing that we're going to announce today, I'll shoot it off to Blake.
All right, so we've teased it a couple times. I know I've talked with a few players individually about it as well, because I'm quite excited about it, and I hope it does everything that Nine and I have been hoping for, in which we are running a free agent tournament. A tournament specifically targeting players without teams. Because we've seen it both in BNS, various servers, Twitter, everyone all across the board posting up that they're free agents and that they're having issues finding homes. Like I've seen the same 5 players show up on my Twitter feed week after week, still looking for teams and not quite having anything to go with that. So we are kicking up the Ink TV team dating service. We are trying to get as many free agents together, get them all in for the same event, and we are going to set them up with various teams. And in order to do that, we've been racking our brains, quite honestly, a lot. Like, I think Nine and I spent at least like 8 hours in total grinding out ideas, trying to figure out the best way of going about doing this to make it both fair, entertaining, and the end goal, which we want it to be, is these pre-assigned teams to actually become real teams. So we're not just randomly taking 4 players, throwing them into a hat, here's your team, and just going with it. We're honestly putting in a lot of work to try and pair out a bunch of good teams to come out of this, not looking at specific players or specific standings. What will end up being is very shortly, probably tomorrow evening, there'll be a full registration link that'll have a series of questions asking about your particular playstyle, what kind of weapons you like to use, things of that nature, to kind of gauge a sense of who you are as a general player. Because a lot of the things that I've seen in players marketing themselves has been things along the lines of, I'm an aggressive frontline, or I'm an aggressive T-Tech. Is that it? And the answer is often no. Like, usually many players who are really good at actually being frontline aggressors tend to play a whole bunch of weapons, but their number one pick is weapon A. But they could flex onto a few other weapons, like a few various shooters, or maybe they have like a pocket umbrella or something along those lines. And it's more of focusing on their style as a player, more so than their weapon, and trying to pair off of that. So you'll have situations where you'll have someone who's really comfortable playing in the front lines, and then we have another player who's really comfortable playing in the back lines. And we make them two as part of a pair, and then we find someone who likes playing objective a lot, and we mix that in as well. And maybe we'll throw in another aggressive player who's kind of objectively focused, and we're trying to make balanced teams that way. So a few of the restrictions we have: you must be S in at least 3 modes.
Is an S plus or S?
S, at least S, because we wanted to make it not fully exclusive. We want to be able to still get lower teams, because there are still plenty of S-ranked players. And if I think it was mentioned earlier even here that there are players who don't play solo. They have their results through tournaments. But I feel like even if you have full results through tournaments, you at least have S. And I feel like that's a low enough bar to make sure that we're getting teams that are semi-close to skill to creating competent teams. And we'll be running this event July 21st at 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So,
and you'll know your teams in advance, so you have a chance to actually play and practice with them before the tournament. So registration will end before the tournament itself starts. Another thing, there is going to be a prize pool. We don't have the exact amount yet, but there's a prize pool to incentivize you to stay on your team to win money.
Yeah, because we fully realize that, especially whenever you're playing with strangers, like, sometimes it doesn't mix. Sometimes, like, the players that you're with, you don't jive with them. But the end result of it, when it's all said and done, is we're putting in a lot of work as well, that the end result will be a neat little stat card that will be hosted on the InkTV website for individual players, that instead of having the various text, Discord screenshots of your information that you post on Twitter, you link something through our site. It's a very clean, aesthetically pleasing stat card of what I've talked about already, your various generalized stats, your placements through the tournament itself, and all other kinds of details that you would want to show other people's who are respective teams. And the last little tidbit as well to incentivize teams and creating new teams out of this: if you are an established team and you're actively recruiting, you can submit players into this tournament. And the idea is that you're going to be going in as the scouting role, and you'll be marked as such, and you'll be paired as such, so you won't have like multiple scouters on the same team. But if you are in the market for looking for new players, you can use this tournament as a session to find those players, whether it's on the team that you're playing on, teams that you're playing against. You're essentially in a market of only free agents who are playing, and you can see their skill firsthand in 2 Saturdays from now.
Yep. So that'll be it. We're going to post it on Twitter very shortly. I also have 2 ads I'm going to air before we get off. One's going to be Landfall that's coming up, so you guys can take a look at that. And I'm also going to show a video for Summer Splat, so you guys can take a look and see what's going on there. So see you later, guys. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you soon.
Tell me where the whole house goes.